So I hope you enjoyed that video. I think it's a good one. Now, something that is typically done to help with segmentation is to pull in information from outside sources, external databases, to find out more about your customers. We say we're going to segment by demographics and psychographics. Well, how much information do you have yourself in your own database? Chances are you have, hopefully, a fair amount. Name, address, phone number, credit card, email, all important email. And with address, you have zip code, and zip code can tell you some things potentially about likely demographics. Um, etc. Uh, um, but what many companies do is they send their customer file to uh, companies that are basically data warehouses. These are companies that have bought up in all kinds of information. Axiom, I think I've talked about previously, ACXIOM. That's my pug barking, by the way, if you hear a ferocious growling sound. Yeah, she guards the hallway. Um, example, my former colleague Paul Davis is a very, very brilliant and accomplished data scientist. When I worked at 800 Flowers, Paul was in charge of the database and also a pilot, and very interesting guy. And since then, this was a long time ago, since then, he's had a great career working for different companies. And one that he worked with, which I always thought was interesting, is called Jet Smarter. It's like an Uber for private jets. So you have an app on your phone, and if you're in Aspen skiing with your family, and all of a sudden a company that you're on the board of or you've invested in has a board of directors meeting in London, an emergency meeting on Monday, you go on your app and you try to find a plane that can come pick you up and take you to London. And obviously, the people who have this service and use the service are wealthy, entrepreneurial types, et cetera, et cetera. And so Paul took the database, the best users. He sent it to Axiom, and Axiom found out that his best users like to ski. I guess that's why I mentioned Aspen at the beginning. So where does Paul advertise to find new users? He goes to skiing websites, skiing magazines. Okay, but that's a perfect example of how you find out more information to get smarter and do a better job choosing media or tailoring messages. Okay, multivariate analysis we're going to talk about in a minute. These are the basic um, types of data. This slide looks a little messy. First, second, and third party data. Um, so first party data is that's the stuff you know. Um, okay, you can also do surveys. Second party data is when you use a service like Emma or MailChimp to run an email campaign with your database, which lots of people do. In fact, I have my database marketing class, which is for direct and interactive marketing majors. And we do a project involving building our own databases and using MailChimp to mail them. And you can find out all kinds of new transactional information from MailChimp involving when people open emails, I mean, all kinds of things. So that's second party data. Third party data is Axiom. Okay. First party, second party, third party data. Okay. These are just examples of the kinds of things an Axiom, would likely have. Voter registration files, real estate records, type of dwelling a person has. Do they own? Do they rent? Rosters for Rotary clubs, PTAs. How about driver's license registration? How about what cars you drive? How about warranty and survey returns? You fill out a warranty return for your new convection oven, and they can have those data. Catalog companies sell their databases. Magazine companies often sell their databases. So it's natural for Axiom to have that information. That's probably how they found out about the skiing. Or they might have found out about it from airline travel information. Credit reporting databases. This would be like Experian. Um, so these are just some ideas. Now, this is now the remember I mentioned that we can know something about people, or you don't really know for sure by individual, but a zip code, for instance, having someone's zip code can tell you some possibilities about them. And the reason for that is that this is a illustration for the idea of birds of a feather flock together. Think back to high school. Were there cliques in your high school by any chance? There usually are. And this is where people with similar interests, backgrounds, personalities just sort of folded into little tribes in your school, right? Well, the same holds true in terms of where people live later in life. We tend to live near people like us. We tend to form into little tribes. It's a kind of a human condition. Um, here's the site of Axiom.com. I'm going to see if we can go to this site here, just for the heck of it. Boomity boom. Oh, leave me alone. Axiom. Well, see now, they're really broadcasting how ethical they are in terms of privacy. Help them better understand customers. View resources. Let's just take a look. Okay, it's all about understanding customers better so they get better service. And you know what? That's not so. That's not so wrong. That's what database marketing is. Doing creepy stuff, no. But, okay. So this is a site. I encourage you to go to the site and poke around. Poke around a little bit. No. Data-driven marketing. Maybe these are some success stories. Okay, so, okay. Anyway, about us. Let's take a look at this and see if they tell us anything. Code of, okay. I don't know what to look at here. It's all going to be just blah. Anyway, what is? Let's see what that is. Consumer data. Let's see what they say. Hey, this is maybe useful, huh? Well, this is actually pretty useful for us. All right, so just read. I'm not going to read it to you. So I encourage you, you got the link here. Go on the site and poke around a little bit. And there's our data. First party, second party, third party. Okay. So there you go. Whoop. Later. Later, Tater. Whoops. Now we are back at Screencast-O-Matic. And let's go back to our deck. Okay. Census data is, by the way, another source of data. Our library has good census data information. This is a zip code map of a part of Ohio that involves Cleveland. The white area up above there is I guess Lake Erie. and Cleveland's kind of in the middle of that, the location of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I guess, or whatever it is. See, there's Cleveland. This looks like counties. These are just different ways to segment, and this is, I think, census tracts. So it's even smaller than zip codes, or census tracts. And the U.S. Census, which is done every 10 years, as we've discussed previously, uh, finds out exactly who lives in zip codes and census tracts. I just want to take a little side note here. I'm going to stop. It's going to take a little sidebar to talk about a pretty hot topic, which is gerrymandering. Do you guys know what gerrymandering is? If you Google it and you look for news on gerrymandering, you'll see a lot. This is likely a major reason for the discord in our country today. It's named after Eldridge. I think it's actually pronounced Gary, not Jerry, but who was a governor of Massachusetts a long time ago. Used the term was used in 1812. So the governor signed a bill that redistricted Massachusetts to benefit it was called the Democratic Republican Party at the time. And when he mapped out the congressional districts, the state Senate election districts in Massachusetts, one of them looked so weird, it looked like a salamander, which you may know is like a long lizard with a long tail, little tiny lizard, lives in the woods. So they named what he was doing in terms of creating these purposely contorted districts for winning elections. They named it gerrymandering. Whoop, uh, and I think I've got an example of one. Yeah, this is North Carolina. There's Chapel Hill, Durham. Those red things are districts. So every 10 years when the census is run, the state legislatures, whoever's in power in the legislature in the state, can redistrict the entire state to do congressional districts. And the reason it's a problem is that they can set it up so that their party's going to win more districts than the other party. They can also set it up so that they don't really get challenged by the other party in a particular district. And what that means is that people can say anything or do anything that appeals to their most dedicated base and not have to worry about being challenged, which leads to some pretty outrageous behavior, in my opinion. And it's not just one party that does this. Both parties do it. If it's an advantage you can take, you're going to take it. Okay. This is how it works, cracking and packing. So you see the reds and the blues are, let's call them neighborhoods or census tracts, census tracts, okay, small geographies. The reds are Republicans, the blues are Democrats. So here's how it naturally falls out because birds of a feather flock together, right? So if you just take the geography and divide it evenly into 4 parts, it's competitive. Equal number of voters from each party in every district. Now, let's skip over to the packing and the cracking. So the third example here takes exactly the same census tracts with exactly the same blue and red dots, but configures it so that you've got one in the same thing where you would have had competitive districts. You now have 1, 2, 3 Democratic blue districts and 1 red district. So this is Democrats redrawing the lines so that they have an advantage and cracking. So you've split up basically the reds. You've split them up so that they only dominate one district. They don't dominate the other ones. And in cracking, okay, I think I may have gotten that wrong. So packing is, all right, the red district is packing. It's putting all the reds in one and making sure that they don't lead in the other 3. And then the opposite is they split up. The reds have split up the blue dots here so that they've got 3. Anyway, you get the idea. It's sneaky and it's I don't think the founders of our Constitution ever thought anything like that was possible. So I'm going to stop here and we will continue.